but outside here at the student gate, new crowd control measures have been put in place, including these new barricades, new signage telling people where to go, and also these new ticketing machines designed to keep the crowd under control. Now, every day for the past month, Spyrek and his crew have set out on this boat to the wreckage site about 5 miles out to sea to find new clues in the mystery of the Hunley. Yeah, and those Republican lawmakers point out that other states like Ohio and Pennsylvania have already voted to end their membership with the national organization. But the National Association of School Boards says that these threats are real and impact educational services for students and families. Not only did Thigpen see a need for theater here in Columbia, but she also set out to create a space that was inclusive and comfortable, a space where people could come together and tell stories that at the time were controversial. And many of the former inmates that we spoke to today said on top of the classroom education they are getting, the program is also helping change their mindset, one from a survival mentality in prison to that of one trying to rebuild their lives at home. Chaos at Carolina. New video shows students trampled as a crowd gets out of control at Williams-Brice Stadium. Multiple student injuries reported as police struggle to contain the crowd outside the student gate.
We were hearing students just like screaming and pushing and shoving and just yelling.
University senior Alexa Jensen was trampled in the crowd ahead of the season opener. She was pushed to the ground and spent multiple nights in the hospital with a concussion.
Don't remember a single thing after that and just remember waking up in the ER.
In response, Gamecock Athletics vowing to make sure the incident does not happen again. University Athletic Director Ray Tanner tweeting he appreciates fans' energy and support. But Jensen says despite her injuries, no one from the university has reached out directly.
It was definitely kind of a slap in the face that they haven't said anything, and like even me reaching out to the student body president, like you'd think someone, I don't care who it would be, but like someone just reaching out.
Now the crowd is gone, but the barricades are up as the university seeks to keep crowds organized. Outside here at the student gate, new crowd control measures have been put in place, including these new barricades, new signage telling people where to go, and also these new ticketing machines designed to keep the crowd under control. Students will also receive more reward points and discounted concessions for arriving early to the game. As for Jensen, she says she's sidelined this week as she's still recovering from her concussion.
It hasn't hit me. I think Saturday when the game comes and my friends are all tailgating and going to the game, I think like a few tears will be shed, but...
The university hoping scenes like these aren't a repeat at the next home game. For Carolina News, I'm Flynn Snyder. It's early morning on the coast of Charleston. Archaeologist James Spyrek and his team of researchers are gearing up to solve a maritime mystery. A centuries-old cold case lies beneath the water surface. His team is trying to figure out what happened to the H.L. Hunley.
We're trying to work, through all these events to try and figure out, what is the evidence of this explosion.
During the Civil War, a Union blockade on the port of Charleston led to fierce fighting on the water. The H.L. Hunley, a Confederate submarine, torpedoed Union battleship the USS Housatonic. The Hunley making history, becoming the first submarine to sink an enemy warship. But the Hunley never made it back to port that night. Instead, it disappeared, leaving a gap in history researchers are trying to fill.
This is a landmark event in naval history.
Michael Scafuri is the senior archaeologist at a conservation center examining the Hunley's wreckage. Even though the Hunley was recovered in the 90s, researchers still don't know what caused the submarine to sink.
Think of it in terms of crime scene investigation of a really cold case. A lot of the evidence sort of fades away over time.
Which is why researchers are now focusing on the Housatonic.
And so the only other place we're going to get new physical evidence is going to be the wreck of Housatonic, where the actual attack took place.
And that's where Spyrek and his team come in. Now, every day for the past month, Spyrek and his crew have set out on this boat to the wreckage site about 5 miles out to sea to find new clues in the mystery of the Hunley. After arriving at the wreckage site, the crew suits up and dives 30 feet to the ocean floor. Battling murky water using a process called hydroprobing, divers tap the wreckage with 10-foot poles, hoping the sound will lead them to the ship's hull.
Because that's where we believe that the damage would have been preserved.
And even though on this trip, Spyrek and his team have yet to crack the case, this mapping expedition will help future researchers get a better idea of the wreckage area on the ocean floor.
As of now, there's still no clear indication of why the crew passed away after they successfully detonated their torpedo.
For now, the mystery of what happened to the Hunley remains. For Carolina News, I'm Flynn Snyder.
This is a great first for the country to have one, now two, of these highly successful, unique organizations that will spell great success for not only for these men, but for our state.
A second chance for newly freed inmates opened its doors today. The Turning Leaf Project, first started in Charleston, now has a home in Columbia. The project providing high-risk inmates with coping skills on how to re-enter civilian life once they leave prison. The new center housing classrooms where participants receive counseling and group therapy. Once classes are over, the group moves to the center's print shop, making t-shirts and a chance to earn a wage. At today's grand opening, leaders from across the state hailed programs like these as part of the reason South Carolina has the lowest recidivism rate in the country, at 19%. The project itself claims to have a 78% success rate. Troy Brown says he served 15 years in prison on multiple convictions and is at the end of his time at Turning Leaf. He says the program helped him feel supported at his toughest times.
The assistance that they've provided me, not only at work, but behind the scenes, has allowed me to get my family back together closer, which is very important. To have a support network, somebody to call if trouble comes, it's meant the world.
We're going to begin today with team coverage of an alarming trend, both here in the Midlands and nationwide. An increasing number of students are bringing loaded guns to school, with 2 in Richland County alone this week. Welcome back to Carolina News. Now to an update on a story we brought you yesterday. South Carolina House Majority Leader Jay Lucas will not let debate happen on the renaming of controversial buildings, monuments, and statues. We're following another development in the debate over masks in schools. Governor Henry McMaster and Attorney General Alan Wilson are now taking action after a federal court overturned a statewide ban on school mask mandates. Residents in Louisiana are cleaning up the damage after a swath of tornadoes swept through the state last night. Finally tonight on Carolina News, Duck Mania, a 20-inch tall stuffed duck called Mr. Vanderquack, has created quite a big webbed footprint as he is trying to raise money for St. Jude's cancer research.